Good morning, everyone. My name is Deepak, and my team members are Jasprit Kaur, Kiranjit Kaur, and Payal Shekhawat. And our topic is Enron, the smartest guy in the room. So, in this video, we're gonna discuss about the unethical behavior in Enron, and we're gonna try to find out how the USA's biggest scandal happened in 2001. Lead roles. So Payal Shekhawat gonna play as Jeff Skilling, Jasprit Kaur gonna play as Mrs. Watkins, Deepak gonna play as Ken Lay, and just Kiran Kaur is the narrator. So Enron, the biggest scandal of USA. What is Enron? Enron is an energy commodity company based on the United States. Fortune magazine had named Enron as the most innovative company in the United States for 6 consecutive years. Enron was started in the years 1985. They were involved in many businesses such as oil, natural gas, electricity, bandwidth, paper, and video on demand. Enron claimed that they have received $101 billion as revenue during the year 2000, but shockingly went bankrupt on December 2, 2001.
It had taken Enron 16 years to go from about 10 billion of assets to 65 billion of assets. It took them 24 days to go bankrupt.
The fatal flaw at Enron was pride, arrogance, intolerance.
All that money you guys stole from those poor grandmothers?
We can add a gazillion dollars to the bottom line.
All right, that sounds fantastic.
Did you convert stock worth $66 million?
I don't know.
I netted approximately $100 million.
Enron is a company that deals with everyone with absolute integrity.
To argue about my compensation, and if I step on somebody's throat on the way, that doubles it, well, I'll stomp on the guy's throat.
The other thing about people at Enron is a lot of them were former nerds. You wanted to be the most popular guy on Wall Street, and you were going to do whatever you had to do.
They sought out every loophole they could in order to profit.
The rules weren't quite clear.
They could bury debt, they could bury losses.
An industry that was very reliable for 100 years was all of a sudden turned into a casino.
Those guys could just yank the California economy on its leash whenever they wanted to, and they did it, and they did it, and they did it.
He just steals money from California to the tune of $1 million or $2 a day.
Can you rephrase that?
Could I predict phony energy crisis as a result of deregulation? Yes. Could I predict that Arnold Schwarzenegger would be our governor as a result of deregulation?
Oh, I didn't expect that.
How exactly does Enron make its money?
Accounting doesn't get that creative.
I would like to know if you are on crack.
This is the shredded evidence that came out of Enron.
Everyone was on the bandwagon, and it can happen again.
We are the good guys. We are on the side of angels.
It has evolved to be corporate crime of the century.
So, who are the key players? As we know that Ken Lay was the founder or CEO of Enron Company, and Ken Lay hired Jeff Skilling. So Jeff Skilling joined Enron in 90s and quickly get the rank of corporation. On February 12, 2001, Jeff Skilling was named CEO of Enron, and Ken Lay adopted the position of chairman of the corporation. Key players. 2. Andrew Fastow became the chief financial officer of Enron Corporation in 1998 and also managed the company's partnership. Andrew Fastow testified in exchange for leniency when the Enron scandal erupted. 3rd, Sharon Watkins would feature in the Enron scandal as a whistleblower. She began her career in 1982 at Arthur Andersen as an auditor accountant and joined Enron in 1993. Sharon Watkins becomes Vice President of Corporate Development in 2001. Political implications. Ken Lee was a close personal friend of Bush family, and Enron provided millions of dollars to finance the Bush 2000 election campaign. And Enron executives met Vice President Dick Cheney and his energy task force on several occasions to discuss the Bush administration's energy plan. So when the Bush government decided to deregulate the energy law, the Enron already knew that, and they got too much profit from this. So basically Enron already had idea about the upcoming energy regulation.
Hi, this is Ken, Enron CEO, and as you know, our company is USA's fastest growing company. So now I want to hire assistant in the developing Enron's new business strategies.
Buy the derivatives and you will be billionaire. Trust us, trust me, trust our company. You will get your profits double within no time. And I think this is the best investment you are gonna do.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Jeff. You are on the board from now.
I would say the main reason for the Enron collapse is the lack of work ethics and moral values. Enron used mark-to-market accounting, by which they record potential profit to project immediately after the contract was signed. Regardless of the actual profit the deal would generate. In simple words, company could record virtual profit in their accounts book. They gave the Enron to pose as a profitable company, even though it was not profitable. Public would never know whether Enron was profitable or was just faking it. So as you can see in the picture, Enron plug was not connected with ethics and consequences. Their natural gas project failed to generate income, but the losses were never revealed to the public. So it's unethical. Ethically, they should reveal to the public at first. And when the stock market and the internet combined, the Enron executive pushed up the stock by the process known as pump and dump. They did several PR campaigns and gave an appearance to public as a profitable company, even though they were performing terrible. They started several projects, such as Enron Broadband. This was a great failure, but again they hide the details and give an outlook of a successful business to the public. So ethically, when they got failure first time, they should reveal it to the public and try to overcome from this loss. But they hide the loss, they show that they are getting profit, and then they start new businesses.
Americans are making a lot of money in stocks. The stock market soared to near record highs yesterday. The stock market continued its bull run Thursday. The Dow rose at nearly 61 points.
Even the person with very little disposable income all of a sudden began to play in the stock market because nobody could fail, because stock prices were just going up and up and up.
Another day, another record.
And the internet and technology stocks just going wild.
Gained more than 100 points to close at 7,895.81, the highest finish ever.
It was a time where we had the biggest bull market in the history of the world. Ken Lay was right there acting as a cheerleader.
Obviously, our stock has been doing very well. I think there's a fairly good chance we could see this stock price double again over the next year to 18 months.
Enron mounted a campaign to capture the hearts and minds of stock analysts.
The natural gas stocks include Enron.
We're never satisfied, and I don't want us to ever be satisfied with the stock price. It should always be higher.
Enron posted a 30% jump in second quarter profits as web-based trading boosted its wholesale energy business.
The game was played on Wall Street in such an established way throughout the 1990s. As long as a company met or exceeded the analyst projections for quarterly earnings per share, the stock went higher.
The game was called pump and dump. Top execs would push the stock price up and then cash in their multi-million-dollar options.
People at Enron got paid in large part through stock. Everyone had a huge stake in seeing the stock price go up. And it was driven very clearly by the profits every single quarter. They're exceedingly conscious of that. Skilling was, and everyone else in the company was. They posted the stock price in the elevator.
You were surrounded by the health of the company. What's the stock price doing? We were consumed by it.
This company was fixated on its stock price and fixated on a massive public relations campaign to convince the investment community that they were new, different, innovative, almost heralding a new era of corporate enterprise.
Come work for us. We encourage our people to do new things, try new things, experiment, step out. We begin by attracting the kind of people that are more comfortable in an environment of change.
You know when you work for Enron, you're going to see the newest thinking. You're going to see the newest markets opening up.
Enron Online, a fabulous, fabulous story. Probably put on.
They were so good at their acting that they convinced corporate America that they were smarter than anyone else.
Alan, with our sincere thanks and admiration, we are pleased and indeed honored to award you the Enron Prize for Distinguished Public Service.
Power business continues to grow up 25%. They continue to sell the company as being a very stable place where it could predictably increase profits 10 to 15% a year. In fact, to get to those numbers, Enron was doing all sorts of questionable things, taking enormous risks.
We like risk because you make money by taking risk.
By all accounts, Enron was soaring. But in reality, profits weren't going up. They were headed in the opposite direction.
So how did they exactly do that? The CFO Andrew Fastow created several companies whose main purpose was to do business with Enron. The companies helped Enron by hiding its debt by making deals with Enron. The chain of cell companies created by Andrew Fastow were funded by several investors and banks such as Morgan Chase, Citibank, etc. The outcome was Enron was profitable at every quarter. The stock price of Enron was skyrocketing even though they were inching towards a death hole. The founder Kenneth Lay and CEO Jeff Skilling had no difficulties in making the public trust that Enron's ever-growing stock price would never drop. They knew that Enron was collapsing. They knew that. But still they made the public believe that the company was in best position it had ever been. So we can say the whole company was working unethically.
We believe in new business ideas every week, every day. So come with us and enjoy the profit. You invest $6,000 today, it will be $16,000 tomorrow. Come and enjoy.
Hello, Mr. Ken. I am Jeff, Skilling Project Manager for Enron Business Strategies.
The corporation kept their huge debits off the balance sheet by misrepresentation. By misrepresenting earnings, investors were completely oblivious to the true financial condition of Enron. Creative accounting, assets and profit were inflated and in some cases completely fraudulent or non-existent. As you can see in the graph, Enron stock price increased suddenly and then dropped down. Fastu and others at Enron orchestrated a scheme to use off-balance sheet special purpose vehicles, also known as special purposes entities, to hide its mountain of debits and toxic assets from investors and creditors. So Enron had done whatever they can do for getting profit, for making money. And California crisis is also one from these activities. So fraudulent energy crisis. Enron created artificial power sources in California, helping to trigger an energy crisis in 2000 and 2001. The corporation was able to manipulate power supplies and charge excessive power prices.
Hey John, it's Tim. The regulatory is all in a big concern about is we're wheeling power out of California. He just steals money from California to the tune of $1 million. Can you rephrase that? Okay, he arbitrages the California market to the tune of $1 million or $2 a day.
Soon discovered that by shutting down power plants, they could create artificial shortages that would push prices even higher.
Hey, this is David up at Enron. There's not much demand for power at all, and if we shut it down, could you bring it back up in 3 or 4 hours?
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you just go ahead and shut her down then, if that's okay?
I want you guys to get a little creative. Okay. And come up with a reason to go down. Like a forced outage type thing. Right.
Those guys, at the flip of a switch, could just yank the California economy on its leash whenever they wanted to, and they did it, and they did it, and they did it, and then they
never seem to step back and say, wait, is what we're doing ethical? Is it in our best long-term interests? Does it help us if we totally rape California? Does that advance our goals of nationwide deregulation? Instead, they sought out every loophole they could in order to profit from California's misery.
So it was during the California energy crisis. The state of California had deregulated the energy market in year 2000. The traders of Enron found an opportunity in this deregulation. They created artificial power shortages in the state by switching down power plants during peak hours. As a result, increase in the demand for electricity, and it's increased the cost of electricity. So the cost of electricity even went up to 800 times up. Enron was the highest benefactor of this crisis, as they extracted almost $2 billion from the state of its treasury. This incident started causing friction between the people of California and the Enron. Enron CEO Jeff Skilling began to publicly mock California. Jeff Skilling said, "Only difference between Titanic and the state of California is that when Titanic went down, it had electricity." So this incident changed the Enron perceptions in public. And at the end, on August 22 in 2001, in response to questions raised at the meeting, Sharon Watkins, a newly appointed Vice President of Corporate Development, altered Ken Lay of accounting, irregularities, and financial reports. Her action triggered the chain of events that led to the collapse of Enron and
Hello, I'm Miss Watkins and I worked as an accountant in Enron companies. During my work, I was highly alarmed by the information I was receiving. According to my knowledge as an accountant, no company can use its own resources to get the gain or to avoid its losses. I continue to ask questions regarding this matter to my former co-workers or to the business units that has been hedged us with their raptor. But I never heard any kind of reassuring information or answer from either of them. And even I was not comfortable asking about this concern either from Mr. Skink or Mr. Fasto. And I think if I had done that, I would have received a termination letter. But finally on 14 August 2001, I urged Mr. Lay to find out who will bear those losses. And we come to know that the Enron stockholders will bear those losses, and he told me that Enron has issued their stocks for that. When I heard that, I found that it was not appropriate to issue any kind of stocks to avoid the losses, and I told this the same to Mr. Lay. As I was doing my job, I found that we have a very large problem in our hands. It seems it was matter of common knowledge to every person, but when I was talking to the people, they were explaining this situation to me with very ease in their voice and with having no concerns regarding the situation. It was seeming that Enron has some magic structure with them that is helping them to getting the things work out for them. But in the end, I found out that the probability of this situation to be stuck is just 5% or less than that.
As we have seen that the whole company was working unethically, there were also deficiencies in sustainability. Employees were always pressured to outperform each other in sales. The work environment was not sustainable. And at the end of the fiscal year, Enron would fire or replace 15 to 20% of employees that had the lowest performance. So employees were always working under pressure. They had pressure to perform best. Whoever questioned these practices were either fired, reassigned, or withdrawn from any growth in the company. So they were working like as a dictator. Overuse of resources. They use their own resources. That's why at the end they had nothing to save the company. They put all their money in projects, and at the end nothing left over. The chief sold all the shares and share value dropped down. When the chiefs got to know that company gonna collapse, so they started selling their shares at high price, and at the end the share price dropped down. Troubleshoot part. If we would appointed in Enron, especially at the time of Californication, how could we deal? So I want to say Enron first come in public attention in late 2000, not for its accounting methods, but as a leader of a group companies, many based in Texas, that were profiting hugely as electricity prices soared in California. Enron and its peers vigorously denied wrongdoing, saying that the price increase were nothing more than the inevitable result of the state shortage of power. So we could make the transactions more transparent, and we would try to convince people that company is not doing anything wrong, and we would try to supply energy at lowest price and try to win heart of people for long term. That could help the company to get regular customer and trust. In terms of accounting, We could try to make transparent system in future, but we had to hide the whatever have done before that, because if we revealed that, the investors could lose trust. Yeah, it's a bit unethical, but if we revealed whatever the company had done before, we could lose the investor trust. How can we prevent another Enron? Strengthening board oversight, avoiding perverse financial incentives for executives, installing ethical discipline throughout business organizations. These are the references from where we got all this knowledge.